Thank you so much. Welcome, Tim. Welcome, Artis. I heard you were stuck on some flights yesterday or had some challenges?
Yeah, it's a whole different story. We could be here all day long for that.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. I also was told to ask you about the TV spot that you had to pitch to the commissioner. Something about his mistake, right? We'll ask about that later.
Oh, the boo.
I was holding that. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. I am Alex Otanez. I am the CEO for Shockoe. I'll give you my in a second. Technical issues. We're good. So good afternoon, or still good morning. Alex Otanez. I'm the CEO for Shockoe. We are an award-winning agency that builds mobile apps and immersive experiences for brands and the fans that follow them. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because one of the things that we pride ourselves in Shockoe is the community support that we give to both the clients and the cities where we work, and this story is all about that. And so I got a chance to talk to these two guys about a week ago, and the relationship that they have built over this partnership is incredible. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, we are too. How's everybody doing? Ready for the draft? So the boo commercial, so this is Glenn Cole over here. He's the chairman and one of the founding partners of 72 and Sunny. And so we just did this campaign around Greatness is on the Clock, which is, of course, promoting the draft. And so we're shooting the whole thing, and I just started to say, hey, tell these guys to start booing the commissioner. And they all start like booing, everybody's booing the commissioner. And the 72 and Sunny guys are looking at me like, are you sure? You want your job? Or is it? Anyway, actually the commissioner loves the whole thing. So part of the rituals when you see the draft tonight, assuming you're all gonna see the draft tonight, they all boo the commissioner when he comes out there, which is kind of fun. Anyway, so thank you for inviting us. Anytime I get a chance to get up here with Artis, I love it. I'm the CMO of the NFL. I've been there almost 5 years, getting close to 5 years. It's been the shortest 5 years of my life. It's been amazing. I've been very blessed being able to work with some iconic brands in my career. But I always, I tend to sort of lean toward the brands that really have great sort of fans it's a passionate brands and they're iconic brands. And for me, it's just so much more interesting to sort of bring life to those brands and to work with the fans themselves. And so sort of that, it's bigger than just a product, sort of elevate and the brand transcends itself, so to speak, has been for me, one of the reasons that I've gone to the places that I have. And at the NFL, it's really been tremendous because of the partnerships we have. We're going to talk a little bit about the business itself, but really what I think is the most rewarding thing about working for the NFL is that we not only get to entertain people and bring people together to have a lot of fun, but we also use the power and the influence of that brand is a force for good, and that's why Artis and I, we're going to talk a bit more about that. By the way, Artis and I also, I'm a board member of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, so we had a board meeting this morning, so lots of things fresh in my mind. So anything you forget, I'll be able to chime in there. But it's been amazing. We were at the BAMP what's it called again?
The gathering.
I shouldn't be talking about that for Innovators, but it's a competitor.
Yeah.
But we met there, and Artis and I just hit it off, and before you know it, he asked me if I wanted to be nominated to be on the board, and it's been incredible. So if you don't know about it, you're going to know more about it today, but it's an incredible organization. So can't really see anything, so I'm going to, there we go. That's the slide. So basically, I'm going to stand up if you don't mind. So basically all this really is to show, and I think you probably already know this, but the influence and the leverage really that the NFL has is really incredible. In this country, it's like 85, you'll see this in the next slide here, 85 out of the top 100 telecasts in the country are NFL games, right? And if you look at our fan base, they're spread out evenly across the entire nation. So male, female, blue states, red states, different age groups, you name it. We're very evenly spread out across the country. And when we have a big event like the Super Bowl, like literally 2/3 of the country will tune in. So that, of course, is exciting to be a part of, and obviously it's great to be a part of a brand where you talk to people and they know it and it's relatable. But it's also, as I was saying, with all that influence comes a lot of responsibility. So we really think deeply about the things that we get behind, the partners who we choose, and the things that we really focus on. Because when the NFL gets behind something with all its power of the league and the 32 teams, things really do change, right? People listen, they think deeply about what we say, and again, we don't take that lightly. You know, it's something that and it was probably the main reason that I wanted to come to the NFL. My job is pretty simple. Like, you know, with 200 million fans, I got to keep those fans, right? So retaining those fans is a pretty big, important part of my job. But acquisition is also important. Like all sports leagues, the league is sort of aging up, right? So getting those younger generations to pay attention and to really want to be a part of the NFL is a big part of my job. It's one of the reasons I used to work for Activision for 7 years on brands like Call of Duty and other big iconic brands. And one of the reasons the NFL was interested in talking to me was because I had spent many years sort of stealing away fans from the NFL to gaming. And so I was supposed to now steal them back. But of course, I don't really look at them as competitors. I look at all these other entities. It's just how do we fit into their lives, right? So it's not a matter of like, we're going to somehow outcompete the gaming industry. Of course we're not. But we have to figure out a way to sort of connect and be relatable and be interesting. And all the things that we do to build up our ecosystem and build up our partnerships, and all our philanthropic efforts are a big reason that young people are interested in the NFL. Okay. This is sort of how we look at our overall strategy. I mean, this sums up about a 32-page strategic book in one slide. It really is about the enjoyment of the game, the excitement of the game, and a lot of things that we do around that. But then everything else, since I came to the NFL, it's all been about getting the helmets off. So call it the helmets off strategy, which is really just about putting a more human face, a more compassionate sort of voice from the NFL to all of our fans. And then diversity and youth culture has been everything. And as I said, it's one of the things that's really helped us connect with this important audience. So yeah, this kind of sums up what I just said a few minutes ago. So I want to show you a spot. It's called We See You, and it's a campaign that we've worked together with 72 and 70 to put together. It sort of, rather than talk about all the things that we do separately, we have an umbrella campaign called We See You, and then every individual cause that we will promote or talk about, get sort of level of interest and familiarity and action will come underneath this umbrella. Okay.
Every Sunday you watch it. But just so you know, we see you too. We see you in the ninth ward in Liberty City. Our names on your back. Our pictures on your wall.
We see you in Ybor City, in North Lawndale. The moms looking for a safe place to raise their kids.
We see you. We see you serving at home and abroad. The heroes who risked their lives to protect ours.
Our son died just over a year ago, and the Rams doing all of this takes us away from that.
We see you in the hospital, in cancer wards. Those bodies, every single day. You're a huge Chiefs fan, man. We see you, because your challenges are our challenges. Your neighborhoods are our neighborhoods.
Your fight. It's our fight.
To be out here in the community, you know, give some hope, share some grief. That's how we're gonna get past this.
The whole world watches us. But now, they're gonna see you too.
So yeah, the NFL. Yeah, that's it. So as you saw there on the end of the spot there, the NFL contributes about $500 million a year to these different causes, and you know people know that with that commitment, right, that financial commitment, that you also have to get involved. So really understanding what's going on out there, really truly partnering with folks like Artis and his team at BBSA is really important for us. So yes, we use our platform to talk about these important initiatives. It takes about a third of my media budget, which is pretty sizable. So I talk about these things within our media budget, about a third of what I put out there every year. We do, of course, we do the commitment, the financial commitment, but we don't talk a lot about that, of course. But then we go deeper into like, okay, what are these causes? Why do they matter? Why do we get behind them? And so I wanted to spend a lot of time on that. The other thing I want to say before we talk about our partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters of America is that you'll notice in the work that I'm sharing here is that like players play a very key role, right? I talked about the importance of putting a more human, compassionate face of the league. Getting behind the players and what they care about has been everything. So there's no player on here that's talking about something that he doesn't fervently believe in. So they're really passionate about these things. They want to do this work. And then we work with them to understand them better, to understand where they want to contribute to their communities. And then we give them a voice, and then we give them a platform, okay? So this next spot is about mentoring. There's no doubt that this is our biggest partnership when it comes to mentoring, but we have a lot of mentoring partnerships across the board. And so you'll see on here the importance of this initiative for us.
To the mentors stepping up, being game changers in your community, we see you. We see you, Jimmy, jumping off the sidelines to be a supportive role model. We see you, Josh, creating spaces to help students overcome the digital divide. We see you, Kristen, helping young people make moves for a better future. We see how all the hours you put in bring hope to our communities. We see you, and we're here to help you create lasting change.
So, yeah, Artis.
All right, so let me just tell you, this guy's incredible, as you all know. And you know, part of the reason why he's on my board is because of not just the leadership and the competency, which you all know what Tim brings to the table, but also just the heart and the passion, right, and the values and the shared values that we have. And that's important for this kind of work that we're doing together. Because when I talk about Big Brothers Big Sisters, let me ask you all first is how many of you have heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters before? All right, so how many of you actually been involved in some way in the program? Oh, wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that many. Wow, okay, so.
That's awesome.
So I want to just share a little bit, because this will give you sort of a frame of why this works, right? And here's the frame that I'll give you in every single thing you're going to hear me talk about, just to reinforce what Tim shared, is we see ourselves as more than a charity that the NFL supports. And I want to be really clear on that. We see ourselves as a partner that creates value, shared value together and impact, right? Because whether you're talking about NFL or whether you're talking about any type of partnership, it's about the creation of value and how we think about our shared goals to ensure that we're all ultimately creating the level of impact that we want across our stakeholders and ultimately our world. So when you think about Big Brothers Big Sisters, just a couple quick hits here. You know, largest youth mentoring organization, the most preeminent youth mentoring organization, specializing in one-to-one mentoring, but all forms of mentoring. We're in 5,000 communities all across the country, 90% loyalty rate and connection rate. You look at our organization as well, and you see our alums, people who just raised their hand, 20 million. 20 million people across this country who are connected to us in some way, some form. And then the number I enjoy the most is 6 million bigs and littles. Those are our magic. That's our product. That's our relationship. Those connections. We are an organization about connections, about relationships. You know, when you think about what we do, and this is really about how this partnership comes to life. And Tim talked about like the helmets off strategy, because I think that's so real. It's authenticity. We couldn't be in a partnership together if both of us didn't feel that it was authentic and it was real. So what does that mean? Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the league, is a former big of our program. He sits on the board of a local Big Brothers Big Sisters. Tim Ellis sits on the national Big Brothers Big Sisters board. Every single team, every single NFL team has a connection to their local Big Brothers Big Sisters and commits and does activities with players, connections. And we have a large percentage of players who are actually Big Brothers Big Sisters of alum. How much more real can you get in a partnership than having that kind of fabric of the DNA of the partnership is actually what you see on the ground, what's actually real, what's tangible, and how we express and bring that to life. You know, when you think about how the story is told, that's the other aspect that makes this relationship so incredible and so impactful. is that we tell real stories that are emotional, that are compelling, and that extends the sense of being a force for good. So the one that I'm really excited about is actually happening right now. It launched right after the Super Bowl, called the Big Draft. The whole premise is while the NFL is drafting the next round of players, they're helping the big brothers, big sisters to draft the next round of mentors, right? So what we've done is we've gotten players, former players, current players, even folks who are in the draft to talk about their mentoring stories, to help us to attract more mentors. And this is really important because we have 30,000 kids on our waiting list, 30,000. Most of those kids are boys who are looking for men as mentors. So the league came, and Tim and his team was like, well, how can we create and craft something that can use the power of the league as a force for good that can help us to get in front of our audience, but also help to make change in society? We had a goal of 6,000 mentors that we wanted to recruit just in a few months. We didn't know if we were going to make it. We said we're going to be pretty ambitious. We've reached 7,000 people, 7,000 people, thanks to this partnership and the creation. Now, what I'll also tell you is that part of what we do is create experiences as well. And this is one that I'm really proud of because this was Tim, this was your idea. And I want you to talk a little bit about it, what we did, and then we're going to show a quick video on the other end on this one.
So how many of you know the shoe surgeon? Okay, a few. So he's super cool, very interesting guy because he also really believes in giving back. But he creates these crazy shoes for like all the big sports stars and hip hop stars in the world. And he literally, they call him a surgeon because he cuts together shoes, Nikes, and he Jordans and all these amazing shoes. And then he collaborates with others and he puts together these just jewel of shoes. And then these things go for $10,000, $20,000. I think the lowest pair is probably like $2,500 to $5,000. So anyway, so all the young kids, they all know who he is. They follow him online and so forth. So he works with us as an influencer because he's connected to so many players and to our younger audiences. And so we worked together with Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and we did clinics all over the country, and we brought bigs and littles together in these clinics, and we sort of educated them and inspired them to sort of learn how to make shoes. And then of course they got to bring home the shoes with them when they finished. So it was, and then of course we created all this incredible content and we put it out on our channels and so forth. So it was a way to sort of, I talked about the importance of connection, right? So it was a way for us to connect with, the littles, of course, and even the bigs, but certainly the littles, and get them excited and inspired to give back, to educate them as well, and then to share that out across the country on all of our channels and platforms. By the way, these are up here.
Take a quick video of it. Design and create. Design and create your life, your journey, your path. So just as much as your design on the shoes is knowing that you design your steps, where you go, and the direction that you achieve in life. As you think about this, and I'll end on this slide here, all of these things make up this relationship, right? The authenticity, the story, the experiences, the values that we share, but they all come to life in real terms, people, right? That's what it all comes down to. Everything that you do every single day, every single brand comes down to people and relationships in some way, in some form. And nothing sort of illustrates that better than what you're gonna see tonight. So tonight, we're really excited to announce that two are big and a little. It's gonna make a first round announcement tonight, the NFL draft, the 8th selection. And it's incredible. They're based right here in Kansas City, and what's so special about this? If you see, this is Chris and Shane. Chris is our big, and Shane is our little. Shane's father died of brain cancer years ago. Chris stepped in to be a friend, a mentor, our partner, and took a young man who was in depression, who was losing himself, who was going through incredible trauma, and helped him to come out of his shell, to find his life, to find his guidance, to feel empowered, not to save him, but to empower him, right? To make his own choices. When we do it right, that's what it looks like. That's what creating a platform, everything that Tim just mentioned, when you create this kind of platform, that's the story that brands have the opportunity to do. Yes, to do things with your consumers. Yes, to drive the bottom line of the business, but to change the world. And that's what I believe. I'm a former chief, before I became CEO, I was the chief marketing officer as well. I know the power of the work that you do in this room, and I know the power that it has to change lives, to change communities, and ultimately to change the world.
I had a couple questions for you. This is incredible, and then I'll save it for the audience. But Artis, you talked about making sure that you guys create mutual value. One of the things that you and I spoke about a few days ago was the benefit of the partnership for Gen Z and the impact that this has on their relationship with their employers. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is incredible. So one of the things that we look at, because if you look at our mission, most of the kids that we traditionally serve 5 to 18. Most of the young people we serve are between 13 to 18, the current group that we serve. However, our fastest growing population that we're serving today is 18 to 25 young adults. A lot of people don't know that. And that's because since the pandemic, kids who've been graduating, they're asking the question, what do I do next? How do I navigate? How do I fill out a FAFSA form? How do I go to a job interview? So our fastest growing programs now are career mentoring. And what's really cool about this is that we're now working with brands and companies who are saying, listen, we got pipeline issues, right? We're trying to get much more diversity. We're trying to reach young people at an early exposure. We're trying to get them connected. So we're working with marketers, we're working with HR teams, DEI teams, to bring more young people into. But here's the other line to it, to Alex, to your question. What's happening is we're also able to take that group and also offer designs for the company. So Macy's is a perfect example of that. You know, our young people just met a few months ago with the Macy's executive team, and Macy's executive team was wondering how they reached this audience. They came to us, right, to think about how do we have a retreat in terms of young people in design and voice. We launched a major partnership with them that was based upon that design, and ultimately launched a retail component in their stores. It ended up being the largest in-store campaign, promotional cause marketing campaign that Macy's has ever run, and it raised close to $5 million during the holidays, right? When you do it right and it's authentic, those are the types of things you create, but it was with youth voice and Gen Z's voice at the table.
That's incredible. You mentioned the pandemic just briefly. Tim, this question's for you. For most of us, the pandemic's long and gone, but you said that the pandemic left lasting effects in the ways that you guys work together. How have you guys addressed that, or still?
Well, yeah, we do. We have an ongoing program where we're constantly collecting insight on our fans, and again, because our fans are so well distributed across the country, it's really the population of the country that we're looking at, and so it became very clear. Well, first of all, the NFL, I think you probably would understand this, but it's really all about uniting people, right? That's the whole thing what the NFL does so well, and whether it be friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, whatever. We've really been good for 100 years of uniting people, and what we saw in all of our data was that, yeah, on the one hand, we're all going back to work. We're not wearing masks anymore. Most of us aren't. But people, there are lasting effects. There are lasting impact, and one of those things is really about the sort of desire to sort of spend time with people they really care about, right? Like they want to sort of, they think very deeply now. People are very reflective on how they spend their time and who they spend their time with, and those shared moments are very, very important. So a lot of what we do is we think about, whether it be our game or whether our partnerships and so forth, reflecting that we understand that, and that we appeal to our audiences through these sort of intimate, more personal relationships and these more shared experiences. And I think, obviously it's an opportunity for the entire country, right, to get better. and to be better as individuals and as a nation. But we know that this sort of, what started in the pandemic, but what now has become a very deep part of our own culture is something that will last. So that's,
That's incredible. Last question for me, and then maybe we could open up to the audience, but only because I work in technology, but how are you guys using technology to connect bigs and littles, to extend that message, to basically engage your audiences?
Yeah, I'll start on the bigs and little part. But for us, a lot of it is using technology platforms to create connection, right? So a lot of things that we're doing is thinking about what young people need, apps, like the things they already use, and then bringing that into our mentoring programs as well. So we've started what you call technology-enabled mentoring that allows for you to connect with a young person in your life. And you may be in California, but the little that you're connecting with may be in Georgia, right? All still safe and supervised, right? We still monitor and it's safe, but creates an environment where we can do various things. Or you may be doing something that's more career focused. So it allows you to do more of a master class for a group of kids, right? Based upon your careers. So we're trying to think about how we use technology in ways to spread our program and to focus in on our mission, but also to help our staff on the ground to be a bit more viable, right? In terms of how you bring people in the program, and then how we can ensure that young people have much more access.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, embracing technology to carry on in a deeper, more powerful way the strategies you already have in place, right? So like for example, if you go tonight, if you were, after these guys get a team and they get their hug from Roger and they move on to what we call the media car wash, one of the things in there, which is pretty damn cool, is like we're using AI to sort of like find out about them before they get in there. And then so not only do they get a picture of themselves with their new city, but we're in real time, as they tell us more about themselves, we're putting that stuff into this AI artwork, and it's super cool. I experimented with it last night. And so each of the players will have, which is deeply personal about them. So we're leveraging state-of-the-art technology in order to connect with them in a deeper way, and also, of course, to connect with our future fans. The draft is all about hope and optimism, like what's the future going to be? And it gets fans so involved because they know that these guys are kicking off this incredible career. Nobody knows how good they're going to be. They may be the first pick. They may be amazing. They may not. Nobody knows. And that last pick, look at Purdy. He ended up almost going to the Super Bowl. So any of these guys can break through and change their lives. And so finding a way to sort of connect with them and using technology to do that is just one small example. But we use it also, and I know you guys are beginning to use it more and more, understanding your bigs and your littles, and having sort of the ability through data to connect with them on a more intimate way. We use it basically as mass intimacy, right? So the more that we gather data, we leverage that data in order to connect in an intimate way with all of our hundreds of millions of fans, enables us to do the things that we're already doing, right? I talked about the Helm Self strategy, that we're already doing, just in a more powerful, more efficient way.
That's incredible. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience.
You can ask anything,
Yeah.
by the way. There you go.
I've got a question. So, Tim, Artis, the passion in your voice is so authentic. You can really tell you guys are digging what you're doing. There's an opportunity for the NFL to do exactly what you're talking about. Unite, right? It goes across socioeconomic, racial lines, country borders. The NFL has an opportunity to unite. I wonder if there's an opportunity to maybe take a page out of the Rocket Mortgage playbook and be more of an advocate. Is there any room for the NFL to actually take a stand in policy and really put this idea about uniting humanity in a way that's really practical?
Well, I think what you're getting at, and please correct me if I'm not getting it right. I think what you're getting at is that if you try to unite and ride the fence, if you will, on both sides all the time, that you can't really do a lot for things that really matter. Is that kind of where you're going? Because I think that's a very, very important question that all companies, regardless if you're a big, powerful sports league or you're starting up a new entrepreneurial company, understanding what you really believe in and what things connect to your own values is very important. And not everybody's gonna like that. And there are a lot of things that we do that are controversial to a lot of our fans out there. I can tell you right now that Glenn and I did an ad a couple years ago for the month of Pride, but then we ended up using that ad throughout the entire season, even at kickoff, because we saw how meaningful it was to people in the LGBTQ plus community. And the first line of the ad was, "Football is gay." And I can assure you there were a lot of people who didn't like that, right? We had all kind, I mean, I got all kinds of interesting emails to me and text messages and you name it. Because they believed that that was wrong, or that was, you know, us playing politics, or whatever the case might be. That's just one small example of something that we just sort of had to realize. I'll tell you another one, which you probably know more about, and that was everything that happened with Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and Kenny Stills and a bunch of other guys who were talking about things that were really important, and the NFL wasn't listening, right? They weren't listening to their own players. And so it was important for us to sort of realize as a company that we made mistakes, that we should have listened, that we should have thought more deeply about the things that they were saying and got behind it. And so being able to show some level of contrition and actually saying, yeah, we made big mistakes there. That was wrong. We should have listened. And therefore, we're going to start thinking differently, and we're start taking stances on things which aren't just trying to please everybody. We're not trying to please the entire country. We're standing for things that we really believe in, right? And I think a lot of these things in some way or another end up being about equality and really embracing diversity and trying to do what you can to end racism, right? Eradicate racism. A lot of the things that Artis and I do, the same thing. All these things are interwoven in the activities that we do. But they're important to take a clear stance and important to understand what you're going to get behind and what you're going to try to do. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I'll just say, can I just add a couple of things to that? Two things in particular. One, you have to be open, vulnerable, and receptive to have these kind of conversations as an organization and as a company. What I've been, really pleased with in our partnership with the NFL is that they have been. And the great thing about real partnerships and authentic partnerships, it's not all just, unicorns and daisies and everything's light and fun, but you gotta have real conversations. I remember having some real conversations with the NFL team around the idea of racism, social justice, right? There's a social justice initiative that we're a part of called Inspire Change that invests in a lot of organizations who are doing the work. It could have been more performative, meaning, hey, we're gonna stand up these organizations. What I've appreciated what the NFL has done has really brought us in to have right, honest conversations, but also actionable ones as well, right? Meaning that if we're at the table talking about designs of what we should do, those types of designs are things that we're actually putting action towards and working in partnerships to do the hard work, right? And there were some things said, right? And there are things that I've shared with our counterparts that, hey, for the NFL to be the kind of brand and the mission that it needs to be for all the people, and how you just said, to unite, there's a certain way with this shield and the platform that the NFL has to come across and has to position and has to act, right? I've been pleased to see the progress of that. The second part I will say is that there are certain things that the NFL can do and will do well and should do, but there are certain things where the NFL has to invest in people who know how to do it well too, right? So there's a lot of grassroots organizations out there that's doing this work, that's at the State House, that's at the Capitol, that's doing advocacy and policy work, right? They need investment because a lot of those organizations so often become unseen, unheard, and it's critical that they get to work. So I'm appreciative of how the NFL has said, hey, we're not the experts in all things. Let's find the people who are, and let's make sure we put our money where our mouth is and where our brand is as well.
We have a big investment in now in getting out the vote. We started it during the last presidential election, which, as we all know, was pretty divisive. And we put the full power behind the league, the players, all 32 clubs. We work with our partners in Washington, D.C. And and then we did it again in the next midterm election. I don't have any doubt that some of the turnout that we got in those two elections had something to do with what we were doing. If you think about the audiences that we have, that we pull in, the numbers I shared earlier, and you see people that you respect, and then you have a concerted effort across all of your ecosystem talking about the importance of getting your voice out there and making a difference, those things at the end of the day have an impact. So anyway, yeah.
It's amazing. I think we're out of time.
Get off.
Tune into the draft, right? Tune into the draft. First round, 8th pick, right?
First round,
Pay
8th
attention.
pick.
There you go. Pay attention.
Yeah. I think it's the Falcons pick.